Good evening and welcome to Live United. Live United is a production of Monadnock United Way in which we bring on guests from local agencies and programs that are doing great work to make the Monadnock region a better place to live. This evening's guest is Wendy Hill from the River Center. Welcome, Wendy.
Hi.
Hi, how are you tonight?
Good.
Good.
Thanks for having me.
I'm glad to have you here.
Yeah.
So tell us about your role at the River Center.
Well, I'm both a parent educator and I'm the clinical supervisor of the Early Home Support Home Visiting Program that we have at the center.
Great.
So.
And for the audience members who might not know, what is the River Center? What does it do?
Well, we're a community and family resource center in the Peterborough, we are located in Peterborough, and we've moved recently to 9 Vos Farm Road, which is across from the Conval High School, behind EMS, and in the old Brookstone building, if you know that area of the woods. And we're in a building that is a good opportunity for us because there are other social service agencies in that building which will provide for some nice collaboration and teamwork to service our families and individuals.
Great. Love that nonprofit collaboration.
Yeah, it's good.
Yes, and so I know the River Center offers a variety of programs. Earlier on another show not long ago, we had Laura Siebert, who was from the Employment Resource Center, and it was lovely to hear about those offerings from the River Center.
Yeah.
But you're here representing the parenting programs.
I am, and before I go into the parenting programs, we also offer free tax preparation and money coaching. We offer, well, of course, with Laura, the Employment Resource Center, which you heard about, and our community connections are also really important to us. We have a strong commitment to connecting people to the resources that they need, and if we can't service them directly, we will connect them to the people in the community who can. And this is pretty much a 24/7 thing, because when we're closed, we have a fact book that has been put together by our organization, and it's accessible, online on our website, which is www.rivercenter.us. People can click on the fact book and open up a compendium of resources that really it's a comprehensive network of resources for people. So just about everything that you could want is in that resource.
Super. So that means folks will have access to resources or information about resources 24/7, regardless of your operating hours.
Exactly.
It's so convenient.
Yeah, it's good.
Well, good. You were about to get into talk a little bit about the parenting programs that happen at the River Center.
Yeah. We provide programs both on-site and off-site, and we really focus on parents that have kids from 0 through high school, which is great. So our early childhood and elementary programs some of them are on-site, some are off-site. Right now we have a program on Friday mornings in Jaffrey. And that's a group of parents and children. And one of the benefits of the early childhood and elementary programs are that we do have a children's enrichment program. So if parents come to learn more about or strengthen their parenting skills, their kids are in a really nice program with a skilled educator who knows a lot about child development and can provide activities and really good play activities for the kids, and creating social skills and language development with them. So the parents and the kids both benefit from those programs. We have one, as I was saying, in Jaffrey that's ongoing throughout the year, and that program is both, it runs through different, I would say a different process, where there's a variety of things offered, from informal discussion type groups with a topic that parents have asked to focus on, to a structured maybe 6 to 8 week program. Right now they're focusing on the program called STEP, which is Systematic Training for Effective Parenting. And that's probably 6 weeks that will be going, and it's just a very nice step-by-step process that covers most of the issues that parents have in parenting, and is a real support to them.
So it sounds like
So-
these programs not only teach skills, but offer peer support among groups of parents.
Absolutely, that's a big part of it. The parents support each other, and our hope and what we see happening is that outside of the group that we hold at any of these sites, parents are getting together or texting or conversing with each other when they need help and supporting with each other in that process, which is great.
Yes, and those connections are so vital to people's health and happiness and the well-being of a family.
Yes, absolutely. And then we've offered evening programs at the local elementary school. We have a farm-to-table program, and we have a grandparent program. So I'd love to talk about both of those.
Sure, and I know
Yeah.
you brought some photos of the farm-to-table program,
Yes,
so
yeah.
we'll get those up on the screen.
Okay.
But feel free, tell me all about the farm-to-table program.
Okay. Well, we started several years ago. Actually, it's been going on maybe 7 years now. And it started with a farm, a local farm, organic farm, wanting to give us their extra produce. So we had bags of beautiful fresh produce, and we delivered them to our families who have difficulty either getting to the center for transportation problems or difficulties, or just don't have access to fresh food like that. And so we were delivering them, and then at the end of the season, people were pulling things out of their bags and saying, well, what's this, and what do I do with a kohlrabi, or what do I do with an eggplant?
That's
or
a good question.
what do you do with kale? So we said, hey, now it's time to start a cooking program. So we now have a well-rounded program of both visiting farms and digging our hands in the soil and planting seeds and finding worms and tasting fresh greens that are growing, which is what happened last week, and then also just cooking. And we have the use of a kitchen, a local kitchen in a church. That was a lovely opportunity to bring families together to learn how to cook with various foods they weren't familiar with as well as familiar ones, creating a meal and sitting down and enjoying a meal together, which is something that we encourage families to do, but often families are in so many different directions that a meal together, a sit-down meal together, is sometimes less common than we'd like it to be.
Sure.
So we have equipment that is very child-friendly. We have little knives that are safe and step stools that the kids get up on so they can reach the counters, and they're really engaged in the chopping and the stirring and the mixing and putting it all together. And what we find is that kids really love to eat the food that they've prepared,
Of course.
that they've been involved in working with. So that's fun to see. And of course, the nutritional aspect of it is really important too. So our first cooking experience, we had someone, this happens all the time, which is great, is either farmers or people just have a surplus of something. And this was a big bag of apples that were still really nice and crisp at this time of year. So we made applesauce and apple cider donuts, and we had a great time. It was really fun. The kids were cutting out all the donuts, and of course they weren't doing the frying. I was doing that, but it was very, very popular.
Wow, what a great
program.
hands-on way to involve kids in learning how to
Yes.
cook. And my experience in working with children and fresh produce is if they are exposed to vegetables that they might, a vegetable that they might be served by their parent that comes from a grocery store, they might say, ew, I don't want to eat that vegetable. But when it's something that they have either picked or they cook themselves,
Right.
They're more inclined to eat it and enjoy it. And that builds a precedent for healthy eating in the future.
Right.
So it's a
And-
great program.
Yeah, and kids knowing just where their food comes from.
Yes.
And everything we do, we're doing from scratch. So people are learning how to put things together when they have time. And often we'll have enough leftover produce that families will take produce home and be able to repeat the cooking process and the recipe that we've been using. So we'll give out the recipes as well.
Oh,
So
wonderful.
it's good. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
You mentioned another program too. Was it the grandparent
The
program?
grandparents program, and this is going into our third year, and it came out of a request from grandparents who suddenly found they were dealing with, at the age of retirement, and thinking they, had a future of either traveling or just retiring and kind of relaxing, enjoying life. Unfortunately, having to parent their grandchildren, and this is all as a result of the opioid crisis, as we know. And these grandparents are troopers. They really have stepped up to the plate and have made an awesome commitment to raising their grandchildren, and they really need support. And that was evident when we started our first group, support group, and we meet once a month on a Saturday, and we provide child care so that the grandparents can have that opportunity to get support. So they tell their stories, share their stories with each other, support each other. We bring people in to help also support them. And at this point, believe it or not, the grandparents are organizing themselves to affect legislation to better protect these children, and it's really happening. There's a commission now being created, and I think 2 or 3 of our grandparents, maybe 4, will be on that commission. So it's a really wonderful thing.
What an impressive outcome.
Yeah, they've begun to speak out and go to hearings and really put the experience that's happened to them into a useful and productive purpose, and help other people, even if they don't benefit directly from changes there. They know that people will in the future who happen to have to deal with a situation like that.
Well, I wish them all the best. That's a very courageous and
really is.
worthy thing to do.
Yeah.
So good for them.
Yeah.
Good. So, how did you get involved with the River Center? Well, tell me a little bit about your background.
Okay. My background is in special ed, special education, and counseling and health. And I started at the River Center, it was over 10 years ago, when the home visiting program needed a supervisor. The director of the center at that time was the supervisor, and she was moving on. So I was asked if I would be willing and ready to supervise the early home support program, and I was happy to do that. So I started out in supervision with a group that was doing the home visiting program, which you will hear more about from Kelly Torgy, who is our home visitor. So she's going to be here at another time telling you about that program. But so that's where I started, and then I began to do more in the center with parent education and developing different programs also with Conval and the elementary school, and just broadening our programs with parents. Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Great. So I imagine, with all of these classes and support groups and social activities that happen through the parenting programs, you can't just run these all yourself, right?
No.
You must have some other partners and other collaborators
Absolutely.
in that work. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we have a nice staff. We have 3 new staff members that are young and just full of energy. It's just wonderful to see. We have for our, I spoke a bit about our early childhood and elementary programs, but we also have programs from middle school through high school age kids and parents of those kids. So there are staff who provide a program called Parents of Teens and Tweens, and that's right at the center on Tuesday mornings, and that's ongoing throughout the school year. Then we have something called Guiding Good Choices, which is being offered in the schools, and that's a drug and alcohol prevention program. Kids are involved at the end, the last couple of sessions of that program, and that's an excellent program. It's all about character building, learning how to do family meetings, and create really good communication with your kids. We also have a Safe Sitter program, so we have staff who provide that either on-site or off-site, and that is a great comprehensive program of techniques for and rules of the road for babysitting, but also how to deal with emergency situations, a child choking, first aid, just different things that you would want a babysitter to know when you leave. You want to feel that they know what to do in certain situations, so it's a really good program. And then a new program that one of our newer staff has developed it's called Adventure Girls, and it's for girls who 2nd through 6th grade, and they go on field trips to different sites where women are engaged in different projects and careers that are inspiring and are great role models for girls as they're growing and thinking about, what am I going to do and who am I going to be once I get out of school. So that's a great program too. So yeah, we have a lot of staff and people offering many different diverse kinds of programs and topics, so it's really helpful.
And do you partner with other nonprofits as well to deliver these, or at least provide resource referral and that sort of thing?
Sure, yeah. Other nonprofits that we work with, well, of course, HCS, which is Home Health Care, Hospice and Community Services. We work with them quite a bit with our home visiting program. We work with Monadnock Developmental Services. They're in our building. We work with Monadnock Family Services and RISE. So one of the things that we do always in our children's programs is we do a screening technique called the Ages and Stages Questionnaire. So we can pick up on any process that's going on that's not quite on target developmentally, just to observe and to just check to see how kids are developing. Parents, it's an easy screening process that parents can do at home or we can do with them at the center. And what's really important is that we pick up on something if it's far enough off the norm that a child could get support or need support before they enter school. They're able to develop skills that they will need. And I'm thinking of one child in particular whose parents were very concerned about her language development being just not progressing, and we're concerned and not knowing why this was happening. So we did the screening, and it was clear that the language development was delayed, and we're able to contact the services to come in and make an observation. And she has been getting speech therapy at her home for some time now, and she's just beginning to articulate words, and they're just coming now. They're just pouring out of her, which is wonderful. So, it's just one of those things that you really want to provide for families.
Providing families tools to help themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's great. And building self-sufficiency and also building community connections that can support families when times get tough.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. And we really want parents to support their kids as much as they can to grow in self-confidence and a really good feeling about themselves as little people growing into, and progressing through the years, to have a strong sense of themselves and confidence in who they are.
Yeah, and let's see, you had mentioned that with the grandparenting program in particular, there's a need for that sort of program with the opioid crisis and sort of the breaking apart of some families due to drug-related circumstances. Right. Do you see that there's a need for other parenting programs or other child support programs based on the community needs? Or?
Well, I think families are experiencing all kinds of difficulties of different natures. I mean, the families who experience divorce or separation, families who then blend together into yet another family, and that blending can be very challenging. Parents, children experience death. There are all kinds of trauma or crises that parents deal with or families deal with at different times in their lives. And what we try to do is we try to develop programs to support families when they are needing those things. So if let's say a number of families came to us, or even individuals, but enough to create a group focused on a particular area, then we would do our best to put that together for them. Yeah.
It's so great that the River Center is so responsive to the community's changing needs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's wonderful that they're there to provide all this wonderful programming too.
Yeah.
Well,
So glad to do that.
so Wendy, what are there ways that people can get involved with the River Center or support the programs that you help to run?
Well, most important is just to know where we are, that even though we're not right on the road the way we were previously, we are still very active and very involved and engaged in supporting families and individuals with their needs, and definitely connecting them to whatever service they do need. So knowing where we are, knowing the website, again, is important. People who want to volunteer, we have a volunteer coordinator. Call the center, email us, let us know that you would like to volunteer, and the volunteer coordinator will give the people a list of different possibilities. We'd love to have volunteers in our programs. And when I think about the Farm to Table program, we always need help in the kitchen.
Sure.
You know, there's always the cleanup and the assistance, and we always like to have the kids do as much as they can on their own without taking over or doing it for them, but having additional help is always a real benefit. And we are at farms a lot during the summer doing field trips, blueberry picking, strawberry picking, raspberry picking, and harvesting our produce as well.
How fun.
Yeah.
And if folks were interested in supporting the work financially, is that something they could do through the website as well?
Absolutely, yes. Donations are certainly welcome. Yes. And in fact, on June 6th, it's the New Hampshire Gives campaign, and we welcome people to go online and donate to the River Center. Yeah.
Yeah, and I
To
know
support our programs.
there'll be a lot of activity with New Hampshire Gives Day on Facebook, I've heard,
Yep,
so might be a good
go on
place
there.
to go tune in and find that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else that you'd like to share before we wrap up this evening?
Just, I think if I were to say, if I wanted to give a message to parents, it would be, to really enjoy and have fun with your kids when they're young, and take the time to be a family. It's so important, and there's so many distractions now, as well as technology, as we know, and that would be one of the main things that I would say to parents. And then what I would say to the United Way is that we couldn't do it without you. You've supported our programs, and it makes it possible for us to do as much as we do. And when your theme of living united, in fact, I'm going to look at my note here, because there was a quote, seriously, there was a quote in some of the writing that you sent to me that I loved, and it just really hit me as something that is so much what we do. And it's, when we touch the life of one family, we influence the condition of all families and the community. And I just think that's so true, and I feel like that is very much what we do, and we want to continue to do that and expand our programs and reach as many families and children as possible. So I thank you so much.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Wendy, and we're so grateful for your partnership. And I would say the work of the River Center really embodies the mission of Monadnock United Way, and so we're happy to have you as a partner and look forward to continue working with you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Well, audience, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Wendy Hill from the River Center was such a lovely guest to have. We hope that her stories have inspired you to get out there, to give, to advocate, and to volunteer, and to live united. Have a good night.